Ben Ellis, welcome to Trade Finance Talks TV.
Great, thank you. It is terrific to be here.
Absolutely, and here we are, Sibos Amsterdam. So to our viewers, who are you, where are you from, and what do you do?
Thank you, and it is good to be back at Sibos. It's good to be back in person at Sibos as well, too. So my name is Ben Ellis. I lead Visa B2B Connect globally for the company. It's part of Visa's business solutions offering where we serve small businesses, commercial clients, businesses all around the world. And Visa B2B Connect is our large ticket cross-border payments offering.
Thank you very much, Ben. And can you give us a short overview of the cross-border B2B payments landscape?
I mean, I think I don't know if it's possible to give a short overview of the cross-border B2B payments landscape. It's one of the more complicated areas anywhere around in banking or finance. And the reason it's complicated is because multiple markets, multiple jurisdictions, multiple business practices. Just think about it. You're trying to send a payment to anyone, anywhere, all over the world. And if it's a business payment, you need information in there. Things like who am I paying, what is it for, which invoice am I paying for, things like that don't always come into consideration with a consumer payment. It's one of the more complicated business challenges I can think of.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I want to talk about pain points because I think it's important to look at that when you're addressing some of the solutions. So what are the corporate's biggest pain points within the payments ecosystem at the moment?
So we did some research on this a short while back. And one of the things we discovered is when you talk to corporates, 20 countries, broad-based type of survey research, about 70% of them had pain points tied to cross-border B2B payments. And the pain points tended to link to predictability. So how do I know when the funds will arrive? How do I know how much funds will arrive? Whether or not it's going to be fees or whatnot. The pain points tied to the ability to track the payment en route. Mm-hmm. So if it isn't yet arrived, where is it and how do I know where it is? And it ties to just the overall feeling of making sure that you can deliver full value and you know what's going to arrive and get there. And it's 70%, which when we saw that, we looked at it, we said this is a challenge. This is a real need in the market.
And how is the industry responding?
I think the industry is responding terrifically well. It's one of the things I think the industry is really good at is listening to clients, both financial institutions and their corporate clients, and working to innovate to come up with ways to solve some of these pain points. It's not easy, tied to a lot of the complexities and the challenges that we talked about at the beginning, which is partly why it does take time and it does take a lot of work to get through it.
So let's talk about Visa. How is Visa responding with regards to Visa B2B Connect as well?
So one of the things that we did when we were looking at the challenge, right, of multiple markets, jurisdictions, trying to align with all the different ways and places you want to pay, is we said, well, what would it take to solve this, right? It takes good technology. It takes a good set of rules so that banks know what to expect when they engage. It takes an organization that's used to working with banks and in a very structured and regulated environment, and it takes a company that can do this at scale. And those are all capabilities that Visa has. So we took those capabilities and experience that we've had from decades, and we applied it to this business challenge. And we built a new network called Visa B2B Connect that is a multilateral network. So banks sign on to that network and you can send B2B payments cross-border to recipients at any bank in the network. And it has all of the same types of characteristics as far as scalable, used to working with banks, all the right rules and regulations involved that we have on our traditional business. And we're taking that and we're applying it to cross-border payments so that you can drive secure, predictable, and efficient payments around the world.
Now, I might sound like a bit of a broken record, but I think one of the things I've been hearing throughout Sibos is in order to get to this, standardization is really key to allow for that interoperability and multiple platforms to talk to multiple platforms. Is standardization still an issue that you guys are seeing, and how are you addressing that?
When we were first building the network, right, we didn't have a legacy network. We were for this purpose. We were building a network for this purpose, and we said, well, the world is moving towards ISO 20022. We'll use that format, which we're doing. But when we talked to banks, they said, that's great, but I'm not ready yet. Will you accept an MT message? We said, okay, we can do that too. when we were building that, we said, we're going to embrace the future and we're going to build it API enabled. We're going to build it API native, which we did. But when we talked to a number of the banks that we were bouncing the idea off of as we were collecting feedback as we were building it, they said, that's great, but could you also enable it through a file transfer? So we've enabled that as well too. We're enabling banks to connect directly to Visa B2B Connect or through integrators that they might already use, like an FIS or a Bottom Line or others as well too. So what we've tried to do is to build in flexibility and optionality into how banks connect and how they engage with us, so that the standards that they're using, whether it's the ISO standard that a lot of folks are moving to, or the MT standards that folks maybe already have in place, that we can do the translation and make sure that it all flows through.
Brilliant, thank you. Ben, what's next, and what do you think the future will bring for B2B payments?
I think the future is going to continue to bring a lot of innovation. I think what you continue to see is companies like Visa, companies like a lot of the financial institutions that are here at Cyberus working together to make improvements so that payments can be more seamless, more straightforward, reach more markets, include more data so that when you're sending and receiving, you know what the payment's for and why you're receiving it. And I think some of these pain points and challenges, I hope what we find is, if we were to go back in a few years and survey those same companies again across those 20 countries, I hope we find that the percentage that would talk about the pain points would be coming down significantly because of the work of Visa and others in the industry to bring that about.
Ben, it's such a pleasure to have you and speak to you on Trade Finance Talks TV here in Amsterdam. See you next year.
Terrific. Thank you so much, and see you next year.